Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H virtual event space. We are now in the AI era. It's too late. You wanted to leave. We already got you. Everything as we know is no longer as we know. It's all fake. It's all, no, joking. Is that like a good enough intro for you guys? I was trying to be dramatic here. Happy and Jack joining us once again. How's it going, guys?
Going good, going good.
Good.
So
Looking forward to this session.
I've been looking forward to it. I love having you guys on, but this is just an incredibly interesting topic still to me.
Yes.
So you guys are gonna
Think you think
you think I just can't wait to hear like what am I gonna learn today? What is gonna be the one thing that sticks out that I'm like, oh, So that's what I have you guys here for, to demystify, to help provide and some information, shed some light, and hopefully get some questions answered. So if you guys are out there listening, watching, feel free to get your questions in. But I know nothing. So this is the time where I turn my camera off and I'll see you guys in a bit for some Q&A.
terrific. Well, I
Thank
do
you.
have to
Thanks,
say,
Derek.
I do have to say that by the time we're done with this presentation, there'll be a lot of things in AI that have been updated. It is happening just so quickly. I'm going to go into share screen and oops, oh, this is why I hate Zoom and Keynote. Here we go.
Yep. Play.
So here we are. It's the AI era, opportunities and possibilities. We're hearing so many things um, about AI and a lot of negative. I think this is a session that we're going to show you what the opportunities are for photographers and artists in this new area and what the possibilities are. Um, I'm Jack Reznicki. I'm over here on the right, and Apeksha is on the left, and I'm going to call her by her nickname Appy throughout this.
Way easier.
Yeah, exactly. And as you can see, Appy has all her contact information in a QR code because she's in the 21st century. I'm still in the 20th century, so I've written my contact information out. We'll repeat this again at the end for anybody that wants it. Um,
We'll get you there, Jack.
There you go. But just before we start, we just want to let you know what we've been up to. I'm going to hand it over to you, Appy, and I thought this was very exciting.
Yeah, so I recently exhibited Art Basel a few days ago. I was there for the entire chunk of the 4 days that we were. Um, I actually exhibited all of the days, and I was putting up my work at South Beach at this hotel called Kimpton. And I, so they reached out to me and they wanted to do a couple of AI images, but they wanted to be presenting something that was very, very close to me. And so I designed an entire story, which was inspired by my own parents. So what you see on the left over here is a collage of my real parents' photographs from the 70s. And the photographs on the right, which is a photo of me with all of my work at Art Basel, with the three big prints of my AI images that were inspired by my parents' photographs. Um,
Yeah,
and
before
so
before I show the other pictures, I got to say I like the pants. I like
Thank you.
the
I painted them myself.
um,
Yeah, so these are the three images that I actually created using Midjourney, a little bit of Stable Diffusion, and finally Photoshop. And we're going to talk about all of those three softwares in this presentation today. And I made ever so slightly large prints of these and presented them at Art Basel as part of my exhibit. And they were celebrating the South Asian culture, which is also why I thought this was a little fitting to what they wanted. And AI is something that we, both Jack and I, have been delving into for a while. So this just felt very, very fitting. And most of the projects that I do are inspired by something close to me and my heart. And so here's the three photos that I made for Art Basel. And
terrific.
so, yeah,
It must have been great to be there, and I think that just more and more AI imagery is being shown at Art Basel. And it's just they've always had a foot in the future, with the exception of the banana that's taped to the wall. Um, but it is a very forward looking event. I mean, very exciting. And the
yes.
images to me, I mean, are just just fantastic.
Thank you, Jack.
But we'll get into more about imagery and other things. This is what I did was back in October. I was at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office at a big international global intellectual property seminar on copyright, and it was ministers and judges and all sorts of government people from all around the world. It was very impressive, and there were a bunch of panels. I was lucky I was on two of the panels representing artists, and in my case, photographers. There were authors and there were songwriters, a lot of different art forms, and a lawyer too, who was there, which was very interesting. Um, a lot of the discussion revolved around AI. I mean, a lot of it was only about copyright and certain concerns about that, but obviously AI is just really rolled into the scene. Um, and we're just going to go over a couple of background things once again. AI started first in the 1950s as what the scientists were trying to do is create machines that simulated the way the brain works. And nothing really happened from the 50s. And by the way, these are all AI images, obviously, that we're showing. Everything we're showing, I think, is an AI image with a few exceptions that we'll talk about. But nothing really happened in the 50s until about the 1990s when technology just improved and the start of neural networks, where they combined several computers together to solve a single issue, which is more the way the brain works. You know, different parts of the brain all come together to figure out how to solve something or how to see something. Um, and neural networks have been in use for a while now, since the 90s, since technology's improved, the computers improved, and it's used in everyday life, facial recognition, speech recognition, te text translation. Try and say that 5 times fast. I mean, I love my Google Translate when I'm traveling these days. I can actually read the menus. Credit card fraud detection. And I think it's going to be a huge impact in the medical field. They say that a lot of new drugs and cures are going to be found through AI and these neural networks. There's a lot of AI you may already been using. I use my Google Maps to find out how to get from one place to another quite a bit. I think some people are over relying on it. A friend of mine just showed me her daughter was on a date that was like 10 minutes away and the weather was changing, and she ended up doing almost an hour to get to where she had to be, where if you just looked at a map, it would have been a lot faster. And we also might be getting self-driving cars with AI, which I think is very interesting. So these are just some of the things that you might be using day to day in different applications: noise reduction, sharpening, content aware, all the different things that we're seeing in Lightroom and Photoshop and several other plugin and programs, Siri and Alexa, Google Assistant, getting films on Netflix, all of that stuff. And new things are just coming out every single day. ChatGPT actually just came out November of last year, and it's just been incredible how much it's just taken over and how many people are using it. Um, so we're going to talk about AI and our particular interest, generative AI. Generative AI being creating brand new things, creating new images. Anything that you want to add on that, Appy, on the
Yeah,
differences?
I think yes. So traditional AI is basically the way that we analyze data, and that data tells you what it sees, right? And so like he said in the like Jack said in the previous slide, we talk to Siri, we talk to Alexa, we use navigation, pretty much anything. We go on Snapchat, we go on Instagram, we use filters. Those are all AI. We use Photoshop. We're doing anything, and it's mostly just AI. But then generative AI is a little bit of what we're gonna dive into today, which is so it takes the same data that we're talking about, and then it creates something entirely new for us. Now, these prompts and this data could be text-based, it could be image-based, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So the point of this session is for us to educate you a little more on what AI is, because it's a very loosely dropped and talked about term around. And we want more people to be comfortable with the idea of AI and not be afraid of it.
Exactly. These are just some of the things. Now, this is a photograph, but this is just some of the simple stuff in AI that just the amount that I can remove things now, where it used to take a lot of time and I had to repatch it and refix it. I can do this so fast. It's just incredible. And this is in Photoshop. They have photo restoration, which is just one button. And within one button for 2 minutes, it took to do this instead of a usual hour it might take me to correct this. I mean, it still needs some stuff fixed, but it's just amazing the quickness of it these days and how much I can do. The other thing that a lot of people are starting to see is going back in old pictures where you're going, oh, it was just a little too tight. I just need a little more. This was a coffee shop with a lot of graffiti I shot in Tel Aviv, and generative expand, which is in Photoshop and a lot of the other programs like Midjourney, it just made this up. It followed, and I thought it did a decent job on the graffiti. And the beauty is, if you don't like this, it'll give you several options. And you might say, oh, well, this graffiti looks a little bit better, and it has a little more grass on the bottom. Um,
And
but
I think to just go back to the image previous that Jack just showed of the coffee shop in Tel Aviv, I feel like we've already been using this in Photoshop as an AI tool. We've been content aware using this tool, but now with generative fill, it's just become so much easier, just more efficient. And I think that's one of the main points about AI that we need to focus on is that it's helping us do everything that we've in another shape or form already been doing, but just faster and just more efficient.
And this is an important thing that I wanted to make sure I didn't skip over, was just to keep in mind that it's not a replacement for traditional photography techniques that I find, and we'll show in examples later on, especially when we show some hallucinations. I find that you still need to be a visual person, that yes, anybody can type in and come out with an image, but to get something that's striking or to get exactly what you need, you still need somebody with the visual literacy to produce what you need. It's really, I think Appy and I both look at it as a tool, not as a replacement of anything. And I love this. This was something from a magazine cover from 1956. And here's the exact same idea and much later, and I can't tell the date because it's being hidden in Zoom for me, but the exact same idea, and about how robots are going to take over. And this is a fallacy. It's not going to be taking over for us in this sense. I know there is a fear with uh, general AI, but we're looking at a different part of AI on creating things. And also, if you follow me and Ed Greenberg on the copyright issues on the Q&A and Q, we'll tell you ideas are not copyrightable. So same idea expressed completely different. This is a good example about copyright. And I'll talk about copyright later. This is actually just a very recent New Yorker magazine, which I think is great. Well, here's a computer coming to take over for a writer. And what does he do? He can create a bigger mess quicker. Well, I love this. I just think it's hilarious and really explains that's what computers are, just faster. But here's just some AI images, and we showed this once before, and I love this it just blows my mind, at least, on just how good these things look and the variety. Um, we'll start with a bunch from Appy, and then I'll show a bunch of mine, and then I'll show you stuff that other people have posted online.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to show you a few of the images right now that I've created using a few of the different softwares that I've been working with, different applications, mostly Midjourney. So it's also the easiest way to start if anyone else is looking into starting with AI. So on the right, you see this like swimming pool that like doesn't actually exist. And I'm creating all of these different spaces in different places and landscapes that don't actually exist. And I'm doing an entire project on Imagine. So I felt like it really just augments my creative process while I'm sitting and imagining these spaces in my own head. And AI can sort of visually give this to me. Also on the left, I didn't grow up in America. And so for me, like all of those images of like um, different drive-ins in America is just a little bit of a fantasy. And so that's a couple of images I've been making. If we go next, Jack. I've just worked on so many different images. The one on the right, again, is very similar to the magazines that Jack just showed, the New Yorker ones, where we have all of these robots sitting amongst us and drinking like us and hanging out with us. A few fashion images. So I'm a fashion and beauty photographer. So I work primarily in the space of fashion and beauty. So a lot of the AI images that I work on are a lot with fashion. I also have been doing a lot of my mood boarding on these. And so these images you see over here are part of some of my mood boards. This is another one. It's just the way that I think. I've been thinking of abandoned slot machines on a beach. And it's like, okay, what is the craziest thing that I can think of? These were just sort of some of those ideas. This is one of Jack's favorites. He's
Yeah, I
told
love
me.
this. I think this is great. And I think an
Yeah.
interesting thing, and I love these. I think an interesting thing is that there's also a generational aspect of AI where me and a lot of my friends are playing with it and just having fun with it, basically. But you're a working photographer these days. I'm happily retired, but
Yeah.
you're using it and applying it in commercial work and work that you are doing and work with clients. I think it's important to explain about mood boards where that's saving tons of time for you and money and really getting across to your clients your vision of their job, of what how you're going to proceed with it, which has become a very important aspect in commercial photography these days.
Yeah, so actually, when I would do a photo shoot back in the day, we would spend a lot of time mood boarding through Pinterest or through other sources. We would also spend a lot of time creating like it's a sample set bank of images for the client. Now we're doing both of those things through AI. So we're also mood boarding, we're creating treatments, we're also doing sample images to show the client what it would look like in an actual photo shoot, all through AI. Yeah, so again, having fun. I've created street photographs. Um, if you
Yeah,
keep going, there's
I love that one. Yeah, that was one.
yeah.
Other one was Zen. Um, and I
Yeah, so I feel like I've been combining a lot of I used to live in LA and we would go more often than not to Joshua Tree. And so I've created all of these little ideas in my head, these little experiences I've had, places I've lived in, people I've met. I take all of those ideas and I just put them in AI just to see what a lot of these images would look like, even if I'm not driving the entire outlook and the desired result. This was for an actual client that we mood boarded for them. They were coming up with like an entire line of beauty, and so this was an actual line of products that we did.
so yeah, it's just
And it's
amazing when I see this and realize that it's just all AI.
yes, it's all AI.
And
Again, this I for my love for travel, I've created the one on the left in Morocco and Marrakesh, the one on the right in Italy, and it's just I'm also I feel like every time I look at these images, I'm equally amazed by how amazing AI can be. The one on the left, I felt like I was creating a lot of women in my fashion AI images, and I felt like I needed to create um, a little more of the male energy, and so I created that on the left. The one on the right was just a conversation I was having with a friend, and we were like, "Oh, what about these music festivals? But what about imagining babies at music festivals?" And so the one on the right came about from babies at Burning Man. And I actually went back into another version of Midjourney, and they've now started banning a lot of the words that I used in my prompts for creating that image at Burning Man for babies.
oh,
So
really? Oh, that's
interesting. Yes. So I feel like they're filtering the kind of prompts that you can give further and further and further. Um,
yeah. I'm going to move
the one
along
on the left.
so much.
Yeah.
I think we'll just show these rather than
Yeah.
explain each one because I think
Yeah. So
there's
all of
so much
these, they're just
information today.
augmented, creative processes. Same thing. all of these are AI images. I do a lot of landscape, a lot of fashion.
Yep. And I'll just go into mine real quick
Yeah.
again. And when you do these, also you get four choices, usually in a lot of the different programs. This one, rather than pick one, I thought, what a not a triptych, I don't know what a four time is, but I've always loved just this group together, of the same image. And the lighting and the action is somebody who did a lot of kid photography. This would be a big production, and with the sun setting like that, it means you only have a very short period of time to really get those. A friend of mine recently was doing a non-for-profit organization, and he needed a woman traveling on a motorcycle and just couldn't get what he wanted. And he said this was absolutely perfect and did it in minutes. It wasn't a long process to get him what he needed. Um, and I just love the different things, the different cultures, which is always interesting when you start doing this. But it's just amazing the results, and the fun that I have. I mean, the equivalency to me is like I remember the days when I first started in a dark room, and you'd see in a wet tray under a safe light that image coming up in the tray, and it was so exciting. This actually duplicates that feeling to quite a bit when I see some of these. Um, the one on the left, it was like, oh, it's just that nice 1950s film feel that I really liked. And shots like this, when I worked a lot for Reader's Digest, we would do images like this, and to get the clothes and to get everything done was a big production to do. I also found that some of my prompts when I did illustrations, I came up with some great illustrations. In fact, amazing ones. I love this is the more I get into prompts and the different types of prompts and the different things, uh, doing something like this, like Leonardo da Vinci drawing of a sail ship, changing the eras, changing the stuff, but the look of it is something that makes a great print just to go up on the wall. And I can decide to do something as a photo or as an illustration. This is the same prompt, just changing one little word, make it an illustration. These are just some other ones. I did this for my lawyer Ed Greenberg on stuff we just can't believe anymore. And he said, "Wow, that looks like me." He was shocked. Um, and this is just I love doing the different watercolor things. And I just did the Flatiron Building. And that. So these are just some other people's AIs. People say it's not good for hands sometimes, but here's some real interesting nail polishes. And it's just amazing how great they look. And this is something somebody could take to whoever does their nails and say, can you do something similar to this? But you could come up with the ideas. Again, I love the drawings and the watercolors that people did. Some of these, I just blow my mind how good they are. Um, and I ran across these recently, and I just thought, oh, I just love the feel and look of this, and the film-like quality of it. Some of them just make me laugh. You can tile things, which I like, which are real interesting. Um, and I love this. Somebody did a whole series of these, and this is a great example of telling photographers not to overpack when they go out shooting.
Less is more.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just going back to the different applications that we've been using. This is a screenshot of what Midjourney looks like when it is integrated in Discord. Discord is another platform. I'm sure a lot of people know about it. So I've integrated all of my GPT, my Midjourney, everything in my Discord. And so I use that as my chatbot to like communicate with the different softwares. And this is what it looks like. So here's just an example of one of the AI images that I made. And it was very, very simple to get this image. Yeah, and this is what it looks like.
I got to say that when I went on Midjourney and started and had to get on Discord to work with Midjourney, working in Midjourney was very easy and intuitive for me. And I've been doing digital since the beginning of digital and quite active. I felt like I needed a 14-year-old to help me get on Discord.
Discord.
So
I feel like the bouncing off of like the different instructions you can get lost in it. It's a pretty simple process, but you could get lost in it.
but it's and this is some of your stuff in Midjourney.
Yeah,
But we should say Midjourney is going to be a standalone application very soon with a different
yeah.
interface.
It's actually it's moving everything online. And right now it's trying out its beta version, but you see the search bar on the top where it says plus images coming soon. You should actually be able to just give all of your prompts in that search bar. And it's just directly going to let you, instead of getting on Discord, it's going to let you make all of your images on the Midjourney portal.
Yeah, and it's going to have sliders to change things, which are a lot easier than putting in different weights and things, which we'll talk about a little bit more. I am going to just put this up. If you could just think about this and talk about it, I'm just going to stop the share for a minute so that I can see what some of the questions coming in are. So take it away.
Yeah, so I think some of the usages that we've been talking about and ways that I've sort of been using a lot of these AI applications in my own, like Jack mentioned, that I'm working fashion photographer and I'm using AI as a tool in my day-to-day stuff when it comes to my shoots, when it comes to pre-production, when it comes to post-production, basically anything and everything. I'm now spending way less time on doing all of those things that I did before. So different ways that I've been using it is building my mood boards. I don't go on Pinterest anymore. Any ideas that I have, any kind of mood that I want to print for any of my shoots, I actually use Midjourney for making those mood boards. Different pitch campaigns to send to clients, augmenting my creative processes and ideas. You'll see a few examples of that I put in this presentation. We went over this with generative fill in Photoshop with editing images. I've been editing a lot of my retouching has also now been happening in Photoshop through the generative fill feature. Different art exhibits like Art Basel, I did Fashion Week. There's a few examples of those. Prints as well. If you go on my website, you'll see prints that I've been selling. Those are all AI. Lookbooks and virtual outfits. We have examples of all of these things coming up in this presentation. So I'll just quickly go over those.
Yeah. And I have to say the second bullet point, augmenting our creative process and ideas, that's really important. And we'll go over a little bit more about that. But what it means is sometimes you put in things and Midjourney or one of the other programs will go further afield. In fact, you can tell it to go what's known as chaos, where listen to what I'm saying, but go beyond it. And you suddenly see a direction that is so different. And it is something that really helps you think. But I think this particular thing is something that was very interesting to me. If you want to talk about this, Appy.
Yeah, I think AI Fashion Week happened this year. AI Fashion Week has happened twice this year actually already. And what they're doing is they're letting a lot of these fashion designers design a lot of their outfits in AI instead of having to do it all in person, spend all of the money, put together a team, spend the logistics, putting together an entire collection of clothes, and spending the huge amount of money that they would. Now they're being able to use or being allowed to use AI to do so. For anyone that wins the prizes, anyone that wins a position is paid an amount, a sum amount, a prize money, and can then transpire all of those designs that have won any of the prize money into physical outfits. But yeah, I think this is a great way of saving money, saving time, just being more serious about what you're doing.
Yeah, which is
And
very
so
much
here's
like your mood boards. You don't have to spend all that time and money and produce images sometimes to show clients what you're thinking of.
correct.
To me, it's the exact same thing. But to think that all of these designers don't have to make clothes, they don't have to hire models, the time and money saving is incredible.
Yeah. And these are a couple of the mood boarding and the pitch campaigns that I've prepared for clients. This is one. If we go to the next slide, there's another one. And most of my clients are fashion and beauty. So a lot of my examples that you'll see will be within the realm of both of those. Um, And then this gives clients a clear idea of what they're looking to show, what they're looking to see, what do they like and what direction they want to go in. And we don't actually have to spend the time setting up each of these sets and shooting these and then sending them over to the client. So
So
it
the
really,
client could say something like, "Well, I really like the background in this one, but I really
yeah,
like the look of this one in particular with the things you have in it," where they can pick
yeah,
and choose what they want. And the clients are that picky. For those that don't
yeah,
work in the commercial world, the clients can, especially in beauty, can get so very, very specific on what they want.
yes. Again, this is another pitch campaign that I had prepared. I had a very, very specific brief from the client where they wanted the woman to look like a cancer patient, but they also wanted her to look very hopeful. They gave me a very specific age bracket, and very specific on hair, very specific on skin. And so on the right side, you see a lot of different iterations that I worked on, and on the left is the final image that I actually submitted to them. So just a few examples of how quickly we can work. And this took me about 5 hours to make versus putting together an entire production of team, getting the actual model, casting her, getting styling, hair, makeup. It just, the whole thing.
Yeah, and it would make the final casting very, very specific on what
Yes,
you're asking the agencies to give you, and you can show them what you're looking for.
yes,
Now, this is really something else. Eric Almus is a very, very well-known commercial photographer, and these images when I saw them just really blew me away. Um, the backgrounds are entirely AI that he produces, and then the models are done in studio. And
yeah,
I guess somebody is building in my building, so you might hear some hammering. Um, but it just and somebody told me that they had something where they had to go out to the Hamptons, and they brought the whole crew. They had hair and makeup. They scouted the locations. They paid for the location fees, and it rained and rained and was a wipeout and was a huge amount of money down the drain. So I see these backgrounds, these locations, like the one on the left. I mean, to get that furniture, the lighting and everything, and the way he's done it is seamless to me. I mean, the lighting in the room, the lighting on the model, and everything. So the backgrounds are AI, the models are real.
yeah. I think this editorial is a very good example for us also establishing that AI doesn't necessarily have to dehumanize the entire process of doing photo shoots. We're still using real people, we're still using real models, but now if we're replacing all of these backgrounds and all of the props with AI, then it makes everything a lot more creative. Legally it makes everything better. And on top of that, it's more efficient.
But you still have to have the creative eye. You still have to
Yeah,
know what you want. You still have to make the corrections. It's AI may not give you exactly what you need, so you end up fine tuning it yourself. But it's that fine tuning and the refining and getting that whole look together. It's not something non-visual people can do. Which is one thing I always want to emphasize. It's not, oh, anybody can just, plug it in. It's the same as I can get the best automatic camera in the world and hand it to somebody. And if they don't have the eye, they're still going to produce crappy pictures.
yeah,
Now, this is the augmenting the creative process that we talked a little bit about earlier. These were two things that I had where I was just looking for something for ideas and other things. And I asked it just to go further afield. So it's the same prompt to give me four completely different images. And some of them might be like, oh, I didn't think about putting somebody behind a camera or something like that. It actually reminds me of a picture I actually did do at the George Eastman house with somebody. But it's an idea generator. and a respect. You can get your idea and just see how much can you push and pull it, how much further can you stretch that. And it doesn't mean that the computer may come up with the idea. It may just give you the path to follow that you weren't thinking of for that idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Jack said right now. I created all of these. I've grown up playing tennis, and all of these landscapes for me are just places that I dream about. And I created all of these tennis courts basically in those landscapes, and I created a set of these images. And from the second that I posted it on social media, they've gone viral. And everyone's been talking about it. So this is another example of, and I actually just started with creating one image and then I spiraled into creating, and I was like, oh, but wait, how can I do this in another landscape and another one and another one? And then this was the final set of six. And I think this is a very, very good example of how once I started with a small idea, it basically helped me. AI helped me augment that exact idea and then just make it a little bit larger than it was.
It's sort of
This
a
is one.
it's sort of your personal sketchbook, idea book on steroids. Instead of drawing
Yeah.
by hand, which I could never do. I mean, my stick figures look pathetic because I
Yeah.
can't draw. That's why I'm a photographer. Um, and this is just an incredible way to really expand on your ideas.
Yeah. And so I did another series, which was all in Antelope Canyon, because I've been wanting to go to Antelope Canyon for years now. And every time I get close, something happens. And it's just I just haven't been able to go. And so I imagined all of these images and settings in Antelope Canyon for myself, because these are the kind of spaces that I would like to build in this. So this is another series I did. But yeah, each of these images that I've shown have a larger set of images in each of the, yeah,
It just
ideas.
it's just nice to see the canyon without that the guide throwing up some sand in the air so somebody can get that little mist of light through. It's like the
Exactly.
same picture I see over and over again from that place. So these were great to see.
Again, creative ideas, just things in my head, thoughts in my head, can create anything, Images like these you wouldn't imagine. You wouldn't imagine an astronaut sitting in a boat underwater on a river. Um, and so I really been working with a lot of the different ideas that are in my head and just been creating a lot of images. And I know these are the kind of things that I cannot actually photograph. And so I've been creating them using AI. Same thing in this also, like Eric almost did. Bella Hadid's been photographed in all of these, but all of the other sets have been created using AI.
Yeah, I think it's something we're going to be seeing more and more of.
Yeah, same thing. The model is real, and then everything else is AI. And now, so this also speaks about a lot of the acceptance of work that has been generated using AI on the cover of magazines or just in real world scenarios.
Yeah, and this is from Bulgaria.
Yeah, this is the glamour. Yeah, Bulgaria. Yeah, so acceptance in the world. Now where The Economist is doing AI covers, Vogue is doing it, Cosmopolitan is doing it. Different magazines, different platforms are starting to try their hand at this a little bit. So we are starting to see the acceptance of it, which I quite like.
Yeah. And I think this is real interesting, Appy.
Yeah. So Bennett Miller actually did at the Gagosian Gallery in New York, the main big one, an entire exhibit of all of these AI images that look very not AI, that look very, very real. And all of them were created using Dolly. And this is months ago when Dolly was only giving you the 1:1 aspect ratio, square photographs. You couldn't extend them, you couldn't do a different aspect. And so all of these images you see here will all be square. And I thought this was a real example of how not only are AI images doing so many things in the commercial world, but also you can do it in the art world in terms of gallery exhibits.
And it's still about the artist's vision.
Yeah. So same thing. This is Matthew Stone. He did another one in the gallery in New York on the Lower East Side. In this exhibit, he actually used all of Stable Diffusion. He created all of his artwork. He printed all of the artwork and put them up like paintings and had a digital screen that was constantly getting reset by different types of coding in Stable Diffusion. So every time you looked at one digital image that was coming up on the screen, it was unique from the one before. So every time you looked at it, it was a unique image and it had never been created before. And so he took all of these different codes in Stable Diffusion and then put them all together. And every time it generated a new image, it was unique.
So nobody ever saw the same show when they went. They say, "Oh, you got to go see this show,"
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
completely different.
exactly. So these are a few images that I actually created for New York Fashion Week. I collaborated with two different brands. One, and they were both sustainable brands, and so they asked me to create all of these images, and they were all elements in all of these images. There's a larger set of this, which you can find on my website. That were created inspired by all of the elements from the two different brands, and they're all AI. And when I was creating these, I was so excited.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. This is
Yes,
still
keep
fine.
going, keep going. Yeah, same thing, prints.
Yeah,
You
this
can
was a
do, yeah,
controversy. Everybody knew about
yes,
Levi's using models because they wanted to expand. They really got a kickback on this. They were really it was just not handled well by them, is all I'll go over. But uh, we're seeing this more and more on online buying and promotion of things. But I think we have some much more interesting things to go over. So I'm going to
yeah, we
skip
can keep
ahead a little
going.
quick. These are just some of the hallucinations. These are, just a real fun thing I'm going to go very quickly on, but things that look like they look great, like this tiger swimming looks great until you look really close to his eyes and realize those are not tiger eyes. So that's one of the little mistakes. This is one of yours, which I love. There's a lot of different things. I mean, we could look at this for quite a while to see all the little mistakes. But I
Oh
love
boy,
this one.
there's a
It's
lot.
like, ooh, ouch. You know, um, and again with the hands and the arms, we got better things to go over. I found this one online. I thought it was great to show it. The different hands, the nails, it looked good, and the other one didn't quite get it right in this, and the handshaking. Um, this is one I'm just going to talk for a second about. I show this quite a bit in my lectures. And I find that photographers see the problem right away. If it's a non-photographer, a non-visual person, the first thing they say is, I say, what's wrong with this? And they say, oh, the guy's driving from the back seat. They don't see the perspective. They don't see that she's in front of the windshield. And this has happened more than once. This has been fairly constant. And that's what I'm realizing about you have to be a visually literate for some of these things to really understand it. And I think there's nothing harder in art than what do you want? And standing in front of a blank canvas saying, okay, do something. So there's an infinite number of decisions and choices you have to make in creating things. If people think, oh yeah, you can just create art by just typing things in a computer, fine. Sit in front of a computer, come up with something. It's the hardest thing to do for artists. So a lot of this is learning a new language of prompts. Again, I'm going to go through this quickly because I think we got some really interesting things to go over. This is just a simple prompt entered a girl, and the computer is going to make all the decisions. The AI is going to decide. What you really have to learn is how to get very specific in what your prompts are. This is one prompt I did. I'm not going to go over it all. With the style of Roman Vishniak, who I've always loved as a photographer. This is what I ended up with because what you do is you redo and refined and changed. And that's what I came up with. This is another prompt, smiling couple. It'll give you different eras, different looks, everything, because I'm not telling it anything other than give me a smiling couple. But if I get very specific on what I'm looking for, I'll get what I want. And you have to learn some of the codes, like I wanted in 4K, quality was 2, style 250. The AR is the aspect ratio, because you could tell it which aspect ratio you want. And in this particular case, I knew that version 5 of Midjourney was a little bit better to get this type of look. As they change the versions, you learn that it's a different flavor sometimes, just like different film stocks were different flavors. But for me to do this in the old day was, I would do shots like this, and I know the production, but the lighting and everything is good. You can tell it what different styles to do. This is off of a site, and the prompt is just a woman, head and shoulders of a woman, and you can see all the different styles to decide from of what you're looking for. And it goes on and on and on, whatever you can think of in doing. Here's another one of a simple prompt of dog sitting. But do you want it as a photo? Do you want it as a cartoon? Do you want it as a painting? Do you want it as a pen and ink? And same prompt, completely different. You have to drive the bus. Also, what age, sex, and ethnicity do you want? Do you want it younger? You want it older? You want it, which gender do you want? With what ethnicity do you want with it? And how many? And where's the location? A lot of different decisions. You have to be very, very specific in what you want. And is it you giving it a mood or emotion? You want it laughing, sad, stern, thoughtful? This will give you different results. And this was something that I loved in a while back in Photoshop, where I could do a quick
Jack,
hair
can I
change.
just say something before you move on to this? For
Please.
prompting, I'm just going to say that be very, very specific, but keep it simple. I've seen some people that write an entire paragraph of prompt and it does one thing and one thing alone, which is confuse the software. It confuses the application that is converting all of these words into little tabs, which and little tokens, which confuses the actual generation of the image. So be very specific with what you want, but keep it very short and simple.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen the same thing where it's getting so esoterical as to what it is. And it confuses the computer. It is learning a new language and learning what the computer reacts to. And it takes some studying to learn that language and the importance of the order that you put things into and just how the computer reads it. I think that is a really important thing. This is just playing a quick hair change on somebody. I said change the blouse, and you can see it changed the blouse. And this is in seconds. This just takes quickly. I said, you know what? Maybe a jacket and a tie would look good on this woman. No, let's go back to a blouse again. And you can see it'll add her shoulders, which never existed in the original. It knows what to do. It really is amazing as to what things are. There is a bias in the training, which they're trying to correct, and it's something you have to be aware of when you put things in. Again, to be specific, it'll do stereotypes in the gender and the race, the culture, all these different things. I'm probably gonna skip ahead a little bit here because I see we're down to the last 10, 15 minutes, and I just really want to make sure we cover some of these other things. So I'm just going to skip ahead on deep fakes. Everybody knows there's a lot of deep fakes going around. This was one of a rare photo of Mona Lisa and Leonardo da Vinci, right? Non-existent. Building of the pyramids. It's amazing they had photographs of this event way back when. One of the things too is, and we'll be getting to the questions that are coming up in just a little bit. Another AI concern is jury bias and public bias, where they're now looking at photographs and saying, is it a real photograph or is it AI? And they're seeing real photographs and they're questioning them. Ed Greenberg and I have gone over this. I mean, there's a whole other, many other B&H presentations on copyright and AI that we've gone over, but you cannot copyright an AI generated image. I'm not going to go over all of that. You might be able to copyright an image if the AI used is minimal or de minimis, as they say legally. And basically, if the AI is generating anything, you've got a problem. If you're using AI for sharpening, for noise reduction, things like that, no problem. And you cannot copyright your prompts. Everybody's asking about that. Well, can I copyright the prompts? No, it's a short phrase. It's, again, I'm not going to go over that. You simply can't copyright it. But I know Appy and other people will tell you her prompts are her secret sauce. She holds those near and dear to produce what she produces. That's a secret. This is just some more legal stuff I don't want to get into. This is what I really wanted to get into, is Gen 2. And I'm going to let you take this over. There's some videos following this up.
Yeah, so Runway ML by Gentoo is another application that I've extensively been using in my work, and I see a couple of questions about that as well, which I'll answer. So this basically allows, so I initially got into using this application to upscale a lot of my images before Midjourney started to allow the upscaling, which it now does within the application itself. Um, it does many different things. So if you just go next, Jack.
Sure. Whoops. There we go.
Yeah. So we can do text to video where it says on this thing. And if you go to the Runway ML Gen 2 website, this entire thing will be available for you to see. It says a late afternoon, sun peeking through the window of a New York City loft, and it gives you this exact video from the text that you have described. And then you can make different iterations, and you can generate that video, and you can define the length of that video as many times as you would like. So also like going back to like how I describe generative AI is we use all of this data that AI already knows and has and prompt it in a way that we want to generate something completely new. So it could be text to image, it could be image to image, it could be text to video, image to video, it could be anything. And that's what Runway ML is, allowing us to sort of explore through their application. This is a text and image to video.
So,
So
and
if
I
you
just
see the
want to
text,
explain it's the input image that you're using as your source, and then you're using the text prompt there to produce that output video that we just saw.
same thing, image to video. This has no text, just a supporting image. That is the input and the source.
Yeah, and you did a wonderful job with this on one of your images where it's just a still image, but creating action to it.
Yeah.
Here's a source image, a driving image saying, make this as what we want it to become. And there's a generated video. This really blew my mind. So they took a video of these books to get the visions they wanted. And then they said, well, we want to see skyscrapers from this point of view.
Yeah. So like I also said, storyboarding, your treatments, your mood boarding, or like different applications, different types of AI are helping us do all of these things more efficiently and in very, very basic and simple ways like this. I mean, I remember describing things to my team in sketches, and now AI can just take those sketches, take photos of that as input or sources, and just give me something exactly the way that I'm imagining them.
And it's just video with a word prompt.
Yeah.
For those working in 3D, you could do wireframes or these 3D images and then come up with something a lot wilder. And this is what's done in motion pictures for a long time. Except they don't have to get an actor in a suit with little ping pong balls. This one I also loved. This was just, here's somebody just doing a gesture, and the computer is using the source material to make the animation of that.
This is an example of what I actually used. I created the left image in Midjourney, and then I used Runway ML on the right to make an animated video out of that. And you can do as many versions of this as you'd like, because it gives you a new version each time.
And just to show people, it is being used commercially. Oh, the one on the left is not moving on mine, which it should be, but
Yeah, that should be moving as well. But it's okay. We got the one on the right and the one before that we saw.
exactly. We see
Yes.
what it does.
Stand before you not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen.
One of the 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday,
and the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis.
I think we should explain that you can see Leo DiCaprio, it's the different people in the corner, it's their voice. He's saying what he said, but they're replacing his voice with different
Yeah.
people.
I pretend for a living. I play fictitious characters, often solving fictitious problems.
I believe that mankind has looked at climate change in that same way.
So it's, I just saw this the other day, and I think it's just
Yeah.
fascinating, where this
The
person,
former prime minister, yes, of Pakistan.
he's in jail. He wrote
Yes.
something because there's an election coming up, but he's in jail. He can't get out. So he wrote something and they put his voice to it and did a video of it, completely
Yeah.
AI, so he could get his message out while he's imprisoned.
Yeah. And the same application that was used in the video before, 11 Labs, is what's been used to create the campaign that his team did with his voice for this round of elections.
Okay, I think we're getting really close to the end.
Yes.
Some of this is just
I think we can keep going. Same thing, runway videos.
right. Let me
Yeah.
jump down to some things I do want to real quickly go over. ChatGPT, while not creating pictures, you can use it in photography, and I've talked about this, where I was going to Norway, and so I asked ChatGPT, what are the sites in Norway that would interest a photographer? And it said, oh, it's a beautiful city, many locations, blah, blah, blah. And it gave me these 8 places. And they were right. I've been to most of these. There were 2 or 3 I didn't know about, but it was very accurate on what it said about things. And again, this is just something else ChatGPT said. Looking into the future, this was something I graduated from RIT. I got something from as an alumni, the magazine, the university magazine, and AI is huge in the colleges. In a place like RIT, which has always been cutting edge on technology, it's preparing students to know how to effectively use AI in their future jobs. Faculty are preparing professionals who will use and develop this technology. At first, they were scared of it, but now they realize that they have to integrate it if they're going to prepare the students. This is some of faculty restrict its use, while others encourage to articulate when and how they are using it. They want the students to say, yes, we're using it, but be transparent on saying how we're using it, but using it as a tool. This is our contact information again. We're just about at the end. I'm going to go off and let's see if we can answer the questions that we have, because I haven't really.
Yeah, if you want to leave this slide on, I think you can leave it on so people can just,
Well, let me.
if
I'm
they
gonna
want to
go
take the
just a
details.
second,
Yeah.
and I'll go back onto the slide.
Yeah.
So I just want to, because the way I'm set up, I have to do that too, to read it. Do you want to answer any of these? If you can not, it doesn't involve models. Exactly what the client wants, and why not just use those? Well, this is interesting. Danny is asking for product photography where you're not using models. Why not use those as deliverables instead of staging a photo shoot? Well, I'm going to tell you, Danny, in my opinion, that's going to start happening more and more. I think at this point, it's just the very beginning of it. I think you might be able to answer this a little bit more. Will your clients start accepting like the makeup? You know what the question is on this though, Appy, if you don't mind me just running my mouth continually. There's
Yes.
going to be a point where there's certain things that people are going to want to know that they are real and not AI. Makeup may be one of those areas. I don't know.
So I feel like product images for makeup, that's a tricky one, because I feel like when you're using makeup on a person, on a real model, I feel like the aspect of the humanization of that should be kept intact the way it is, because you're actually using the product on the person. But when it comes to product photographs, I feel like it's a very, very easy way and a very smart way of using AI. The reason, to go back to Danny's question, the reason that we haven't reached that point yet is because when I'm mood boarding for my clients, I'm not using their actual product. So once I'm mood boarding and I send them 15 different layouts, once they actually choose the kind of layout or layouts that they want to go with, we then take their real products and then shoot that, or then use a different application and then put that. The reason that we're doing one or the other and we're still doing photo shoots is because a lot of clients are starting to warm up to the idea of AI. They're not entirely convinced, but and the reason they're not entirely convinced is because they're not entirely educated. They think AI is a bad thing, which is why the more people are coming around, the more they're going to start integrating AI as a part of their process of creating content. So we're not far from that, but we will eventually start creating a lot of the stuff that we don't need to shoot in an actual studio with AI.
So somebody's asking a question that I don't agree with his question. He's saying, with so many very advanced AI models that produce high fidelity photorealistic results, why is the Photoshop generative fill so substandard, especially given Adobe's cellular record of software advancements? I got to tell you, I find their generative fill to be excellent. In fact, a lot of things that I do in Midjourney, where I love the image, I do not like their outpainting. I do not like their generative fill. I can't tell you how many images I've taken from Midjourney and put it into Photoshop to expand it quite a bit. I have to say, in my experience, I find their generative fill to be excellent. I don't know your experiences with that, Appy.
So I think it's about the fact that there are a bunch of variables when you're working with an application like Photoshop and you're using the feature of generative fill, because not only is your prompting a big part of what you're trying to do, but it's also the way that you're making your selection, how precise you are with it, what you are prompting. Also, the more you work with the application, the more it understands your language. And the more you work with it, the better results you will get when you're prompting. So I feel like there's a bunch of variables when it comes to Photoshop, generative fill, or it comes to other applications that a lot of people don't take into account when they initially start working.
Yeah, Ted is asking, which AI apps do we recommend? I know for me, I've played with DALL-E, and I know they've had a new one. I haven't had a chance to play with it, but Midjourney is my go-to at this point for what I'm doing, and Photoshop. I find Photoshop for certain things, type treatments, especially some other things. I just find their Firefly is very, very interesting. I think Firefly is one of the better ones producing food too, from what I've seen from people producing things. Appy, what are your go-to?
So I feel like I use if I really have to think about it, 4 applications that I use the most in any of the amount of work that I've been creating lately. And it's so I'm just going to name the 4 applications. It's Midjourney. If you're a beginner, Midjourney would be the easiest way, Midjourney or DALL-E. My personal preference is Midjourney, just because I've somehow just liked the way it's integrated in my Discord, and I work with it. I have it on my phone, my iPad, my laptop. I can just prompt it on the go. The other one would be Stable Diffusion. If you really dive deep into AI, you can get with Stable Diffusion. It's a little more complicated. You have to do it. You have to set it up at home. I use Runway ML that we just went over, Gen 2, a lot to upscale a lot of my images, create a lot of different video content. And the fourth one would be a little bit of DALL-E here and there. So these are the 4 that I primarily use. And then at the end, I feel like the one that I use to finish all of my images is Photoshop.
Just 2 more quick things. A mutual friend of ours, Ralph, is asking, how large a file size can you get from these programs? How large a print can you make? Are they TIFF files or JPEGs? I'll go over more that with you, Ralph, but let me just say, They are small file sizes. It's amazing what you can do, but there's another AI program, which is Topaz, that I use Topaz to upsize, and it does a remarkable job. And then you just save it as a TIFF or JPEG, whatever you want to save it as from there. There are some people doing some interesting things to upsize them and to get bigger file sizes. Ben Wilmore on his Master's Academy has a wonderful, he had an action that he does that will show you how you can just do it in blocks of size and make it much bigger, but it's a little complicated. But there are ways, and I have to say the size thing, while it might be small right now, is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, that's an issue that for advertising and reproduction, I don't think is going to be much of an issue these days. Not like it was with film, where that would be a huge issue. It's a concern, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue.
Yeah, I feel like also Midjourney now lets you upscale to a certain extent within its own program. And like I said, I used Runway ML before to upscale a lot of the stuff, and they actually give you anywhere from 1K to 4K content. I've been printing and I've been blowing up prints with a lot of my work, and I haven't used Topaz yet, which can help you make larger prints. But within what a lot of people are doing, I feel like 4K prints is also very good.
Well, the very last thing, and we'll end on this one, Ted, who asked a previous question, came back and said, will you guys plan more sessions at B&H? All that I think I'll be up to Derek and Danny,
Yeah.
our handlers at B&H. And if we can find the time, it seems that Appy and I do a lot of traveling. You're going, you're headed to India at the end of the month, I know. I'm headed to
Yes.
Vietnam and Cambodia in February. And it's also a question of just getting our schedules to align.
No more travel.
Yeah,
You
but
guys aren't allowed to travel. Sorry.
but I was gonna say, if people have ever want to reach out and they have specific questions, Jack and I are always happy to answer.
Yeah, and one last time, I will share this screen for anybody that wants to get a hold of us. Whoops. Ooh, I disappeared. Oh, I forgot. We did have one last slide, but we forgot to do.
The most important part.
Most important one, have fun, because that is an important thing to do. Well, we've run a little bit over our allotted time, but
I think we did pretty well with timing.
Yeah, we got a lot of information out. I hope, and I hope everybody enjoyed it.
There you go. I have nothing else to say. Thank you guys, of course, again. Now you're forced to come back, so this isn't goodbye. This is see you next time. But no, huge thank you to Affy and Jack and all of our viewers out there for tuning in. We will keep this topic in the circle of content, so we'll revisit it. We'll give it a little bit of time. As Jack said, it's probably already advanced, so we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks to see how it's changed.
Exactly.
Thanks, Derek.
There you go. Thanks, guys, and to everybody else out there. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy.
See you guys soon.
See you guys next time.
And thanks for use of the hall, Derek.
Yes.
Bye then.
Bye, guys.